In a quiet town in the land of Mali, bathed in greenery, where the hot sun filled the air with the scent of ripe fruits and dust, lived a young man named Idris. He was 22 years old, and he was known in the area for his modesty and incredible diligence. His hands, though young, already knew the weight of hard work. One day, his path crossed with Aminata, a 19-year-old girl whose smile could dispel any clouds. Aminata came from a wealthy family who lived in a large house with a high fence, which stood on a hill above the town. Her father was a successful merchant, and her mother was a respected nurse at the local clinic. It seemed, what could connect these two? Despite the striking contrast in their backgrounds, Idris, living in a small, dilapidated hut, and Aminata, surrounded by abundance, a strong bond formed between them. They spent hours together after classes, most often meeting under a sprawling mango tree by the road. In the shade of its broad leaves, they shared dreams and secrets, laughed, and felt truly free. Aminata, to the surprise of many, never looked down on Idris. She saw in him not his poverty, but his kind heart, his respect for every person, and the sincerity of his soul. It was for these qualities that she fell in love with him. Soon, their friendship grew into a deep and all-consuming love. They dreamed of a future together, made plans. Idris wanted to become a teacher, to bring the light of knowledge to children, and Aminata dreamed of helping people as a nurse. Their future seemed clear and full of hope. But life rarely goes according to plan. Everything changed when Aminata realized she was expecting a child. Fear pierced her like lightning, but Idris was there. He didn't falter. His embrace became her refuge, and his voice, a promise. He swore to be by her side, to take care of her and their growing family, no matter what. These words were Aminata's only comfort at that moment. The months of waiting dragged slowly, each day filled with anxiety and impatience. And then, the long-awaited day arrived. Aminata gave birth. To their great joy and surprise, 2 tiny twin girls came into the world. They were small and incredibly beautiful, true pearls. They had Aminata's eyes, deep, like the night sky, and Idris's smile, warm and sincere. But that night, which brought double joy, turned into an unimaginable tragedy. Aminata left. She ran away. Without a single word. Without leaving a note. She simply disappeared, like morning mist under the sun's rays. Idris woke up the next morning and found she was gone. He searched for her everywhere, his heart pounding wildly in his chest. He asked neighbors, acquaintances, people at the market, but no one had seen her, no one knew where she could have gone. The town, usually so open, kept her secret. Idris was broken. An unbearable pain pierced him. He sank to the floor in their tiny room, tears streaming down his cheeks, holding his newborn daughters in his arms. 2 tiny lives, entirely dependent on him. He couldn't understand why Aminata had left them, why she had abandoned her happiness, her children. But amidst the despair, he made a solemn promise to himself and the little ones. He looked into their tiny faces, not yet understanding the world, and whispered, his voice trembling with pain and determination, "I will raise you. I will protect you from all troubles. I will be both your father and your mother. Now, you are my heart, my whole world." From that day on, Idris's life turned into a never-ending struggle. He worked day and night to feed his daughters. He carried the babies, tied to his back with a piece of cloth, when going to the market where he sold fruits. He washed clothes for other people for pennies, did any work he could find, whether it was cleaning yards or minor repairs. He never gave up, even when it seemed his strength was failing. He fed the girls, bathed them, sang them lullabies, rocking them in his arms after a long and exhausting day. His hands were rough from work, but they were gentle when stroking the tiny heads of his daughters. Life was incredibly hard. Poverty weighed heavily, and the pain from losing Aminata never entirely left his heart. But the joy of seeing his girls grow, their tiny bodies getting stronger, their eyes looking at the world with curiosity, gave him the strength to keep fighting. Idris lived with his parents in their old, worn-out house. His father's name was Elder Kwai. He worked far from town, at an electricity supply company, and only came home occasionally, once every few weeks. Every time Elder Kwai returned, he brought some money. This money was a lifeline. It was used to buy food and, most importantly, milk for the little ones. The twins, Zara and Layla, did not receive breast milk because Aminata had run away immediately after giving birth. Instead, the girls drank powdered milk, which Idris bought at a small corner store. This store was their nearest source of sustenance when others were unavailable. But sometimes days came when Elder Kwai hadn't returned yet, and there wasn't a penny left in the house. On such days, the little ones cried non-stop. Their hunger was agonizing, and their cries, thin and piercing, filled the small, stuffy room. It tore Idris's heart apart to see his daughters suffer and be unable to help them immediately. By Idris's side, and his daughters, was his mother, Matushka Nyala. She was a kind and wise woman, and she loved her granddaughters with all her soul. Despite being elderly and often feeling tired, she tried to help in any way she could. When the baby's cries became unbearable from hunger and there was no milk in the house, Matushka Nyala would sit on the floor, lay the girls on her lap, and gently rock them. At times, in moments of despair, she would press her old, withered breasts to their little faces, hoping that even a drop of milk would appear, just a little, to soothe the crying children. Most often, nothing came out. But she kept trying, her heart aching for them. She wanted to comfort them in any way she knew how. She held them close, rocking slowly, tears streaming down her face. "Your mother left you," she whispered softly to them. "But we are here. We will not abandon you. We will always love you." Idris watched this scene from the doorway, tears in his own eyes. This was not the life he wanted for his children, but he was immensely grateful for his parents. Together, they struggled, together they prayed, together they poured all their love into these little girls who had been so callously abandoned. Their shared hardship united them even more. 8 long, hard, and painful months passed. One afternoon, as Idris was washing the children's clothes in the yard, he looked up and saw her. Aminata was standing at the gate of their house. She had returned without any warning, without a single sign. She was wearing beautiful, expensive clothes, looking well-groomed, well-fed, and clean. It was the image of someone who had never known hardship, and certainly not like a woman who had recently given birth to twins and run away, leaving her children. Idris was in shock. He froze for a moment, his heart stopped, and then began pounding in a frantic rhythm. Slowly, as if in a fog, he walked towards her, with one of the daughters tied to his back. Aminata looked at the children with an expression Idris couldn't decipher. "I want to take them with me," she said without preamble. The words hit him like a fist. He held the second baby in his arms, pressing her close. "No, Aminata," Idris said firmly, though his voice trembled. "You left them. You didn't even say goodbye." Aminata lowered her eyes, her gaze sweeping over the girls. "All right, then give me just one of them," she suggested, as if talking about an object. "Let me take the younger twin. You can keep the other." Idris shook his head, tears welling up in his eyes. "They are twins," he said softly but firmly. "They came into this world together. They cry together. They sleep side by side, feeling each other's breath. You cannot split them like a piece of bread." His voice became pleading, "Please, Aminata, if you truly care, come home and help me raise them. Together, we can." But Aminata refused. She turned away, her face becoming impassive. "I cannot do this," she said coldly. Idris didn't give up. In despair, he decided to go to her family the next day, praying they could influence her. He believed that if he showed her parents how much he loved the children, how hard things were for him, they might persuade Aminata to return or at least help. When he reached her large house, he knocked on the gate and asked for Aminata. Instead of her, her brother came out. His face was angry and hostile. Idris tried to explain his situation, talk about the girls, about his plea, but he didn't finish. Aminata's brother, without even listening to him, grabbed a full bucket of water standing nearby and splashed it on Idris. Idris stood, completely soaked, his shirt clinging to his body, water dripping from his hair. Humiliation and pain washed over him. Aminata's brother shouted after him, "Get out of here, beggar. And never dare to come here again." Slowly, with a heavy heart, Idris turned to leave. And at that moment, he saw Aminata. She was standing by the gate and looking at him. Their eyes met. For a moment, Idris froze, hoping she would say something, that even a spark of regret would appear in her eyes. But her face was hard, cold, indifferent. She looked him directly in the eyes and uttered words that were forever etched in his memory, like a sharp knife, "I cannot suffer with you." Something broke inside Idris. He walked home slowly, water dripping from his clothes, and an unbearable pain in his heart. Upon returning, he looked at his sleeping daughters and wiped away his tears. "Your mother may have left again," he whispered to them. "But I am here. I will never abandon you." And he kept that promise. Years passed. Aminata, as she had said, did not return to a life of poverty. She married a wealthy man. He had a huge house, luxurious cars, many servants, and even more money. Aminata began a new life, full of luxury and comfort. In the photographs that sometimes reached the town, she looked happy and carefree. She wore expensive outfits, attended social events, lived in the abundance she had once dreamed of. But throughout these years, it was as if she had erased her daughters, Zara and Layla, from her memory. For 12 long years, Aminata never called, never visited, never sent a gift, and didn't even inquire about how they were doing, if they were alive. Idris, Matushka Nyala, and Elder Kwai raised the girls with all the boundless love and care they could give. Idris took on every possible job so the girls could go to school and have good food. Matushka Nyala taught them how to manage a household, cook simple meals, sew, and most importantly, to pray and be kind. The girls grew up with pure hearts. They were affectionate, helped around the house, played outside like normal children. But one afternoon, something unexpected happened. A large, shiny car stopped opposite their humble little house. Out of it stepped Aminata, looking as rich and beautiful as in the photographs. Her hair was perfectly styled, and she wore expensive shoes. The girls were sitting in the yard at that time, helping Matushka Nyala peel manioc for dinner. When Layla, the younger twin, saw Aminata, something in her little heart fluttered. She didn't think. Without a second thought, she rushed towards Aminata, falling into her embrace. She hugged the mother she saw for the first time tightly and smiled. But Zara, the older sister, remained sitting where she was. She didn't smile. She didn't move, her gaze fixed on the unfamiliar, strange woman. Matushka Nyala looked at Zara and gently said, "Zara, this is your mother. Greet her." Zara turned her head and quietly but firmly uttered words that made everyone present freeze, "No. My real mother is you, Matushka Nyala. You are the one who stayed with us. You are the one who fed us, held us when we cried, and never abandoned us." Aminata looked stunned. She opened her mouth to say something, but the words caught in her throat. She didn't stay long, hugged Layla, who was still clinging to her, once more, and then slowly walked back to her car. That was the last time they saw her. Aminata never called again. Didn't send a letter. Never inquired about the fate of her daughters. Idris watched this scene from the doorway, holding back tears. But he smiled. Looking at Zara and Layla. They had grown into strong, wise, and beautiful young women. And even without a mother, they were deeply loved. Many in the town, seeing Idris, told him, "Idris, you are still young. You need to find another wife, settle down." But he always gave the same answer. "No. I cannot marry again now. My girls are still too young. Another woman might not love them as I do. She might treat them badly. The girls and I have already suffered enough in life. I don't want any new problems for them. In Idris's heart, despite everything, the pain of losing Aminata still lingered. He wished she had stayed, so the girls could have a mother. But she left, and he had to remain strong for their sake. Many years passed. Idris continued to work hard and finally got a good position in the country of Ivory Coast, in the big city of Abidjan. It was a new beginning, and he was happy to earn enough to provide for his daughters, Zara and Layla, to give them a decent education and future. Idris moved to Abidjan with the girls. They settled in a cozy rented house in a lively area of the city. Every day, Idris woke up early, prepared breakfast, helped the girls get ready for school, and then went to work. In the evenings, he returned tired, but still found the strength to help them with their homework and read bedtime stories. Life in the big city, far from their hometown, was not easy. There was no family nearby, no Matushka Nyala, no one to help. Idris did everything himself. Sometimes the girls missed their mother terribly. This longing caused them physical pain. On special days, like school events, parent-teacher meetings, or Mother's Day, they felt an emptiness inside. They saw their classmates running to hug their moms, laughing, holding hands, taking pictures. And they had no one. Idris could only stand aside, feeling helpless and watching their hidden sadness. There were moments when the pain became unbearable. Then the girls resorted to a strange but understandable trick. On such special days, they would give a little money to a kind, affectionate woman among those present at the event and quietly whisper, "Please, could you pretend to be our mother today?" The woman would smile, take pictures with them, stand by their side during the event. From afar, it seemed like they were fine, but deep down, Zara and Layla suffered. At night, after the event, they would return home and quietly cry in their room. They didn't want their father to hear them. They didn't want to cause him any more pain, for they knew how difficult it was for him alone. But Idris knew everything. He saw the pain in their eyes, felt it in their silence. And every time, he would sit alone outside, looking at the stars, praying for strength and wishing their lives had turned out differently. One evening, many years later, Zara and Layla, now grown into beautiful, intelligent, and strong young women, sat their father down in the living room. They looked at him with love in their eyes. "Dad," said Zara. "We want to talk to you." Idris smiled. "I'm listening, my daughters," he replied. Layla spoke first. "Dad, we know you did everything for us. You raised us alone, being both our parents. You gave us love, food, education, everything we needed. But we see that you are lonely." Zara added, "You never remarried because of us. But now we are grown women. We can take care of ourselves. You don't have to worry so much anymore." They both took his hands. "Please, find someone who will make you happy. We will support you. Even if she has her own children or brings new people into our lives, we can handle it. We are ready." Tears welled up in Idris's eyes. For years, he had pushed away the thought of new love, believing his life was now solely dedicated to his daughters. But now, hearing these words from Zara and Layla, he felt a surge of courage and hope. His heart, which had ached for so long, began to heal little by little. Some time later, Idris met a kind woman from the Baul people in Abidjan named Fatimata. She was quiet, modest, very respectful, and had a warm, radiant smile. Most importantly, she loved Zara and Layla as if they were her own daughters. She never yelled at them, never treated them badly. She called them "my girls," helped them braid their hair, cooked meals, and shared wise advice. After a while, Fatimata gave birth to a son for Idris. They named him Salim. Now the house was filled with life, laughter, and the sounds of children playing. Idris was happy. He often sat in a corner of the room, just watching the children run around and the girls helping their stepmother with chores. A smile never left his face. For the first time in a long time, peace and tranquility filled his heart. But one morning, Fatimata told Idris that she wanted to go to the lagoon area, downtown, to learn the art of sewing and fashion design there. She had always loved sewing and saw this as a chance to fulfill her dream. Idris supported her. He gave her money for the trip and tuition and asked her to be careful. She hugged the children, kissed Idris goodbye, and left. That was the last time they saw her. Days passed, then weeks, then months. There were no calls, no letters, no messages. Idris tried calling her phone, but it was turned off. He went to the place where she said she was going to study, but no one had seen her there. It was as if she had simply disappeared without a trace. Idris was heartbroken. The story was repeating itself, and it was unbearable. One night, he sat alone and wept. He looked up at the dark, star-studded sky and whispered, "God, why is this happening to me? Am I cursed? First Aminata left me. Now Fatimata is gone too. Why do they all leave me?" His daughters sat beside him, hugged him, and wiped away his tears. "Dad, you are not cursed," they said. "You are blessed. We are here. Your son is here. You are not alone." Idris looked at them and nodded slowly. Although he never got answers to his questions, he held tightly to the love of his children and continued to live, finding strength in them day after day. Years later, Layla, the younger twin, got married. It was a beautiful and very emotional day. The house was full of joy, music, and dancing, but a quiet regret also hung in the air. Their real mother, Aminata, was alive, but she wasn't at the wedding. Instead, Layla asked a close family friend, a woman who had always supported them, to stand in as the bride's mother. As Layla walked towards the altar, everyone applauded and smiled. But many guests looked around, noticing the absence. The bride's mother wasn't there. It tugged at hearts and made some whisper, "Where is her real mother?" Idris stood proudly, but deep inside, he felt that pain too. He had raised these girls, giving them everything he had. He tried to remain strong as he handed Layla over to her future husband. Meanwhile, Zara, the older twin, waited for years. Suitors came and went, but none stayed. She fasted, prayed, attended night vigils at church. She would kneel by her bed and whisper, "Lord, please remember me. I also want to be a wife, to build my own family." Many nights she cried alone, but she never lost hope. And then, one day, her prayer was heard. A kind, God-fearing man entered her life. He loved her with all his soul and asked for her hand in marriage. Zara was overjoyed. She jumped and laughed, hugging her father. "God did it," she exclaimed. But when it was time to start wedding preparations, something broke inside her. One evening, Zara suddenly dropped her spoon and began crying inconsolably. Idris rushed to her side. "What's wrong, my daughter?" he asked, full of worry. Through her tears, Zara choked out, "Oh, Dad, I so wish my mother was here. Just to see me in my wedding dress. Just to tell me I look beautiful." Despite growing up strong and independent, the pain of her mother's absence still lived in her heart. In her sadness, Zara went to her neighbor. A kind elderly woman named Matushka Ebony lived nearby. Matushka Ebony had always treated Zara like her own daughter. She gave her advice, taught her life's wisdom, and prayed with her. When Zara entered her home, Matushka Ebony opened her arms wide. Without a word, Zara rushed into her embrace and sobbed. Matushka Ebony gently stroked her back and whispered, "My daughter, I am here. You are not alone. I will be by your side." True to her word, Matushka Ebony was by Zara's side before, during, and after the ceremony of meeting the groom's family. She held her hand, helped her get dressed, danced with her at the engagement party. Zara smiled through her tears. For the first time in her life, she felt like she had a mother again. Only a few weeks remained until the wedding. Friends and family gathered to help with the planning. One evening, as they were sitting in the yard, one of her friends asked, "Zara, did you invite your real mother? You said you forgave her, didn't you?" Zara slowly raised her head. Her face was calm, but her eyes were sad. She quietly said, "Yes, I have forgiven her. Truly forgiven her. But I will never invite her to my celebration." Her friends looked surprised. One of them asked, "But why?" Zara looked at them, and the weight of the years she had lived through was in her voice. "She was never there," she said. "Not from the very first day. Not when I cried. Not when I needed a mother's hug. Not in my childhood, not during my school years, not at my engagement. She made her choice then, and I am making my choice now. I have peace in my soul. And that is enough." Everyone fell silent. Although it was a painful truth, they respected her decision. Zara had found love, support, and peace in the embrace of those who had stayed with her, and for her, that was everything. The long-awaited wedding day arrived. Zara's marriage to Mr. Silla, who turned out to be an incredibly successful and wealthy man, became a joyful and unforgettable event for the entire town. The celebration was in full swing when something completely unexpected happened. Aminata appeared. She was now a widow, having lost her wealthy husband and, as it turned out, had no other children or close relatives. She came uninvited, without warning. The security guards, noticing an unfamiliar woman trying to enter the celebration area, quickly stopped her and asked her to leave. Aminata was forced to leave, overcome with shame and deep regret. Despite this unpleasant incident, the celebration continued. The groom, Mr. Silla, had a stunning surprise for Idris. He gifted him a brand new car, expressing his sincere gratitude for raising his wife and her twin sister with such love and care. Overwhelmed with emotion, Idris could barely speak, conveying his deep appreciation for this incredible gesture. After the beautiful weddings, life for Zara and Layla became even better. Both sisters happily settled into their new homes, surrounded by the love and care of their wonderful husbands. Zara's husband, Mr. Silla, was a very intelligent and visionary businessman. He saw something special in the sisters, some potential. One evening, he sat them down and said, "You two are different. You are smart, dedicated, and truly care about people. Why don't you work together and build something great?" Zara and Layla were inspired by his words. His belief in them made them dare to dream bigger. After many nights of talking and planning, they decided to start a joint business in the luxury beauty and wellness sector. They named it Golden Roots, a brand intended to celebrate the beauty and strength of African women. Golden Roots offered premium skincare products created from natural African ingredients such as shea butter, black soap, and baobab oil. They also opened a network of beautiful spas where people could come to relax, rejuvenate, and feel confident and beautiful. The business grew faster than anyone could have predicted. In just 3 years, Golden Roots became a massive success throughout West Africa. They opened numerous stores and spa centers in Ivory Coast, Mali, Burkina Faso, and even in one European country, like France. And then one day, years after her last attempt to re-enter her daughter's lives, Aminata reappeared. She came to the twins' company and got a job there, as a cleaner. She was trying to be close, hoping to get somehow nearer to her daughters. Zara, whose wound from the old betrayal still ached, ignored her completely. She walked past as if not noticing. Layla, with her softer heart, would just politely nod to her in greeting as she passed by. Before they could fully realize it themselves, Zara and Layla became billionaires. They traveled the world, were invited to major international events, and their pictures appeared on the covers of prestigious magazines. But despite all the wealth and fame, they remained humble and always remembered where it all began, with a small dream, their father's immense love, and hard work. Life was beautiful for Zara and Layla until trouble knocked on their door. One afternoon, something terrible happened. During a major financial audit of their company, auditors discovered a shocking disappearance. Over 250 million in local currency had vanished from the company's accounts. This news hit the company like a storm. Employees gathered in small groups, whispering and speculating about what could have gone wrong. Some were scared, others were angry. Everyone demanded answers. For the first time, a painful crack appeared between the two sisters. Layla accused Zara, stating, "You should have kept a closer eye on the accounts." She felt that Zara had been negligent, allowing the money to disappear. Zara, feeling hurt and angered by the unjust accusation, shouted back, "It was you who trusted the wrong people. You believed every word of our financial manager." Their words were sharp as knives. The strong bond that had once united them, full of laughter, shared dreams, and boundless love, began to crumble before their eyes. The tension between them was so intense that they didn't look at each other for several days, let alone speak. They walked past each other in silence, their hearts full of pain and resentment. Their husbands noticed the growing estrangement and tried their best to reconcile them. They would sit both sisters down and beg them to talk, to resolve the conflict. But the wounds were deep, and both Zara and Layla felt too hurt to forgive quickly. The business suffered. The staff was in confusion, and the once bright light of golden roots began to dim. It seemed everything they had built together was collapsing. But one night, Layla couldn't sleep. She tossed and turned, feeling guilty about what she had said and worried about the future. A small voice inside her kept insisting, "Something is wrong. You must find out the truth." And so, in the middle of the night, Layla got up and quietly made her way to the company office. She decided to look at the surveillance camera footage from the past few months. At first, she didn't see anything strange. But then she saw something that made her heart pound with panic. It was Mr. Kamara, the financial manager they had trusted so much. In the middle of the night, when all the employees had long gone home, he sneaked into the office's safe room. In shock, Layla watched as he forged their signatures, took documents, and secretly transferred enormous sums of money from the company account to his own. Layla's hands trembled as she watched. Tears blurred her vision. All this time, it wasn't Zara who was to blame. It was Mr. Kamara, the very man they had entrusted with their finances and future. The next morning, Layla rushed to Zara's house. She didn't care about pride or shame. She just wanted to fix everything, to get her sister back. When Zara opened the door, Layla fell to her knees before her, weeping. Through her tears, she said, "Forgive me, Zara. I should have believed you. Please forgive me." Zara, also crying, immediately lifted her sister up. She hugged her tightly and whispered in her ear, "We are one. Always." In that moment, the love between the sisters became stronger than ever before. They didn't waste time. Gathering all the evidence, they went straight to the police. Mr. Kamara was arrested and later sentenced to prison for his crimes. The sisters fixed the damage in the business, restored trust among their employees, and implemented new rules to protect Golden Roots from similar problems in the future. Golden Roots didn't just survive, they became even bigger, stronger, and more successful than ever before. But during the painful rift between the sisters, someone else saw an opportunity. Aminata, their real mother. Aminata had secretly kept close to Layla, watching and waiting for the right moment to influence her. She whispered lies to Layla, twisting her thoughts and exacerbating the conflict. She whispered, "Zara thinks she is better than you because she married a richer man. She wants to control you, Layla. Remember, even when blood ties are strongest, don't trust even your own sister." With every lie Aminata told, Layla's heart grew colder and more distant from Zara. The seeds of doubt were sown deep, and soon Layla didn't know what to believe anymore. But only when the truth came out, when Mr. Kamara was caught, did Layla finally see the whole picture. She understood that Aminata was the one who had poisoned her mind, turning her against her sister with lies. On a rainy day, Layla couldn't hold back anymore. She had to talk to her mother, to tell her everything. Tears mingled with raindrops on Layla's face as she walked up to Aminata and said, "You left us when we needed you the most. How dare you try to tear us apart now?" Aminata's face crumpled in pain as she heard her daughter's words. She couldn't hold back her tears anymore. She broke down sobbing, realizing that her desperate need for love and attention had only brought more suffering to those she perhaps loved the most. For the first time, Aminata truly understood how much her selfish actions had wounded her daughters. She had tried to divide them, not realizing that the bond between them was far stronger than anything she could break. Meanwhile, many kilometers away, Fatimata, Idris's second love, faced her own sorrow. The man she had run off with, the one who, according to her, was supposed to teach her sewing, turned out to be a heartless swindler. He used her, drained all her savings, and when he found someone richer, he abandoned her without a second thought. Ruined and broken, Fatimata returned to Idris's home after years of silence. She timidly knocked on the gate, carrying only a small cloth bag and a heart full of regret. Idris stood in the doorway, arms crossed, his heart heavy. She pleaded, she wept, she knelt. But Idris, his voice calm but firm, said, "You chose your path. I cannot open this door again. I forgave you long ago, but some doors are better left closed forever." Fatimata wiped away her tears and left. Having nowhere else to go, she returned to her native village and started life anew. While all this was happening, Salim, Idris's son with Fatimata, quietly grew up under Idris's watchful care and loving hand. He was not just a boy, he was Idris's true flesh and blood, his last child, his hope. Despite everything, Idris raised Salim with love, patience, and immense sacrifice. Salim witnessed his father's struggle and was determined to make him proud. He studied hard, never forgetting the nights Idris stayed awake to help him with homework, or the morning breakfasts his father prepared with a tired but loving smile. Driven by love and gratitude, Salim graduated from school as one of the best students, earned a law degree, and became a passionate advocate, dedicating his life to protecting children abandoned by their parents, just as he had once felt himself. At his graduation ceremony, Salim held Idris's hand tightly and proudly said, "This is my hero, my father, my everything." Salim's success became living proof that love, sacrifice, and faith never fail. Later, as Zara and Layla reached the heights in business and Salim in law, Idris, once a broken man, smiled deeply, seeing how the fruits of his labor had grown into something great. On one emotional evening, Aminata lay on a hospital bed, gravely ill, paying for the mistakes of her past. With tears streaming from her eyes, she confessed to her daughters, "I was young. I was selfish. I made the biggest mistake of my life. But I never stopped loving you. Please forgive me." The twins looked at each other, tears streaming down their faces. They remembered the nights they cried alone. They remembered the birthdays she missed, the pain, the longing for a mother's touch. And yet, in that moment, they chose mercy. Zara stepped forward, hugged Aminata tightly, and whispered, "We forgive you, and we pray that you find peace." Layla joined the embrace. And for the first time in decades, the broken family found healing. Idris, too, though his heart bore scars, shook Aminata's hand and said, "Forgiveness does not erase the past, but it sets us free." And with her last breath, Aminata left this world. Although their hearts were heavy with loss, Zara, Layla, and Idris understood that forgiveness had set them free. It was time for new beginnings, even for Idris. One bright Sunday morning after the church service, Idris sat quietly under a large mango tree not far from the community center. Years had left their mark on his face, but his heart remained open, still hoping for something beautiful. As he rested, an old friend from the village approached him with a smile. "Idris, meet Sister Amani," the friend said, gesturing towards a graceful woman who was arranging books. Amani was a widow known for her warm heart, deep wisdom, and peaceful spirit. Her laughter was soft like music, and her presence felt like coming home. She wiped her hands on her simple dress and extended her hand to Idris, her smile warm and sincere. "It's nice to meet you, Mr. Idris," said Amani. "I've heard many good things about you." Idris stood up, slightly embarrassed but intrigued. He gently shook her hand, feeling a surprising peace he hadn't experienced in many years. "It's a pleasure to meet you too." "Amani, yes." "What a beautiful name," Idris replied. She laughed softly, and the sound seemed to make the breeze lighter. "My mother said it means joyful. I try to live up to it, even on hard days," Amani said. Idris nodded, his voice low but sincere. "We could all use a little more joy these days." For a moment, they just stood there, a peaceful silence enveloping them like an old, beloved song. Amani smiled, her eyes gentle. "Perhaps God allows us to meet the right people when the storm finally settles." Idris looked at her, truly looked, and smiled the softest, most genuine smile he had smiled in decades. "Perhaps he has," he said. From that day on, Idris and Amani became close. Evenings turned into long conversations. Conversations grew into a strong friendship. And soon, the friendship blossomed into love. 6 months later, they married in a simple but beautiful ceremony surrounded by Zara, Layla, and close friends. Amani didn't replace the past. She simply helped to heal it. With her, Idris found peace, laughter, and a new chapter of happiness he thought he had lost forever. Indeed, after a long storm, Idris found his blessing.